The trophy arrived before the coffee did, squatting on my keyboard like an uninvited opinion. A clear acrylic pyramid, all sharp angles and false importance, with a gold plate glued to the base. Outstanding Commitment Award. Spelled poorly, of course. Presented to Jasmine Rowe. My name is Jasmine, with an E. My work is also with an E, meaning effective, exhausting, and lately, entirely taken for granted. A few desks down, my director, Trevor Pike, drifted past my station in a slow victory lap. He wore the same pleasant expression he used for quarterly town halls, the one that said he was humble, but only because humility looked good on paper. There she is, Trevor said, projecting his voice so the row of analysts would hear. Our star. Make sure you put that on your desk, Jasmine. Culture matters. Culture. The word always tasted like microwaved fish in a shared break room. He paused, waiting for my gratitude to bloom on schedule. The office had that brittle quiet that follows a public stunt. People kept typing, but their eyes were listening. I tapped the misprinted plaque with a fingernail. It is nice, I said. In the same way a parking ticket is a surprise. Trevor chuckled like I had performed comedy for him. It is a recognition award. You earned it. Also, do not lose the envelope. He slid a thin envelope onto my desk, right beside the trophy, as if he was placing a napkin under a spill. I did not open it. I did not even touch it. I let it sit there like a small accusation. Trevor leaned on the partition. Everything okay? I looked up. Are you asking as my director, or as the person who spelled my name like a rush job? His smile tightened, but did not collapse. Trevor's talent was maintaining a charming mask, while stepping on throats quietly. Just open it, he said, still loud enough for nearby ears. It is a year-end thank you. Everybody got one. I waited until he walked away, then slid the envelope into my bag without breaking the seal. I had learned a long time ago that the first rule of workplace humiliation is not reacting in front of an audience. The second rule is keeping receipts. My role at Harbor and Latch Consulting was senior process lead, which sounds impressive until you realize it means I am the person who makes broken systems look intentional. I fixed what others rushed, I smoothed what others wrecked, and I translated executive nonsense into measurable plans. Trevor took credit for strategic direction, then asked me to make his direction look like it had always been strategic. Later that morning, I logged into the compensation dashboard to process routine end-of-cycle adjustments. A new task sat in my queue. Recognition, disbursement, reconciliation. Low priority. No due date. Assigned by Trevor. He always assigned the work he did not want anyone to look at too closely. I opened the file and began where numbers cannot lie without help. Allocation totals versus employee payouts. The department's recognition budget was healthy. The team payouts were thin. The difference was not small, not rounding error small, but the kind of gap that could buy someone a new car while everyone else got a gas station bouquet. The missing amounts sat under one tidy label repeated again and again: Employee Uplift Packages. I clicked into the vendor record, a company name I had never seen, one that sounded like it had been generated by a stressed marketing intern. Brightbridge Appreciation Company. The invoices were elegant in a suspicious way. Rounded amounts, identical formatting, vague line items like premium morale fulfillment and custom celebration bundles. No employee names, no delivery detail, just bulk charges with the confidence of something nobody challenged. I leaned back in my chair and watched Trevor across the floor. He was laughing with the manager near the printer, loose and comfortable, like a man who believed no one would ever check the math. That was the moment my irritation sharpened into intent. The trophy's misprint was not the insult. The insult was the assumption that I would accept it as my ceiling. I opened my bag, finally broke the envelope's seal, and pulled out the note inside. Thank you for your commitment. Keep pushing. Under the note was a single crisp bill. $50. Not even enough to buy a decent blender to puree my rage into something drinkable. I slid the bill back in, refolded the note, and stared at the trophy with my name misspelled. Then I opened a fresh document and started a list. Dates, amounts, approvals, and the name that appeared on every single authorization line, steady as a heartbeat. Trevor Pike. By the time the office settled into its afternoon rhythm, I had stopped feeling insulted. I felt curious. Curiosity is what happens right before someone makes a very expensive mistake. And I was already deciding what my mistake would cost him. The first thing I did was verify that I was not imagining the pattern. The second thing I did was verify that Trevor was not clever enough to hide it better. He was not. The Brightbridge Appreciation Company invoices repeated like a bad chorus. Same language, same pricing structure, same smug lack of detail. If deceit had a font, this vendor used it consistently. I walked to finance with my laptop held close, like I was carrying something fragile. In a way, I was. The illusion of normal. Marta Voss, a finance coordinator who had perfected the art of looking busy while quietly absorbing everything, glanced up as I approached. "Please tell me you are not here about the travel receipts," she said. "Worse," I replied. "I am here about gratitude." Marta's eyebrows rose, then flattened. "That is always worse." I turned my screen toward her. "These recognition charges. Do you have delivery documentation?" Marta's fingers hovered over her keyboard, the way people pause when they know the next click will alter their day. "Not usually," she said. "They claim proprietary packaging." "Proprietary is a fun word," I said. "It means someone is being paid to keep things vague." Marta gave me a sideways look that said she appreciated the wit and feared the consequences. Then she opened a logistics tab and typed in a code. A list populated, shipment dates, tracking batches, drop-off categories, and addresses, not employee addresses, not office addresses, not even the bland warehouse addresses that vendors love. These were third-party receiving points and storage units scattered like breadcrumbs. Most were commercial collection sites. One was a residential address. One. It stared back at me with the innocence of a confession. I pointed. "That one." Marta leaned in. Her expression tightened. "That is not one of ours." "It is not one of theirs either," I said. She sat back slowly, like she had just seen a spider, and was deciding whether it could jump. "Jasmine, I am going to say something, and you are going to pretend I did not." "I am very good at pretending," I said. "It is how I survive meetings." She lowered her voice. "We asked questions once. We were told to stop asking questions." "By whom?" Marta did not answer. She did not need to. The approvals tab had already answered for her. Trevor Pike. I exported the shipment logs, then cross-checked the delivery dates against the invoice dates. Every uplift package charge aligned neatly with a shipment batch. The shipments were large. The charges were larger. The recipients were ghosts. Nothing in the records suggested anyone on our floor had received anything beyond that insulting envelope. No baskets, no gift cards, no plaques that spelled names correctly, which felt like the bare minimum for a celebration. "Do you know what the worst part is?" I asked. Marta sighed. "That you are going to do something brave?" "No," I said. "That he named it uplifting." She almost smiled, then stopped herself. "What are you planning?" "I am planning to be very calm," I said. "That is how I know it will be dangerous." Back at my desk, Trevor swung by with the casual confidence of a man who believed documents existed to be ignored. "Working on that reconciliation?" he asked. "Yes," I said. He nodded like a teacher pleased with obedience. "Make it quick. End of cycle is hectic." "It is," I agreed. "So many little surprises." Trevor laughed and moved on. I watched him go, then opened my list again. I had enough evidence to make him nervous, but nervous men do not always fall. Sometimes they strike first. So I decided to build a stage. A stage needs timing, but I refused to use precise times. My life had enough schedules already. A stage needs an audience, and our company provided plenty: executive leadership, departmental heads, and a board liaison who only showed up when there was an opportunity to look concerned without doing anything. I checked the calendar. An upcoming event stood out like a spotlight: the Winter Strategy Forum, a quarterly gathering where leaders took turns applauding themselves for surviving their own decisions. Trevor was slated to present. He would be visible. He would be proud. He would be unguarded. I started drafting a packet: invoices, approvals, shipment logs, and one extra piece of evidence that mattered more than any number: the trophy plate. Outstanding Commitment Award. Presented to Jasmine Rowe. A perfect symbol of how Trevor treated people: incorrect, public, and expecting gratitude anyway. Later, as the office thinned and the lights softened, I opened my bag and looked at the $50 bill again. It was so crisp it felt unused by morality. I slid it back into the envelope and tucked it beside my printed documents. 2 items: one insult, one system, and a director who thought I would swallow both without chewing. The invitation appeared in my inbox like a polite threat. Check-in, employee experience. Host, Celia Brandt, People Operations No Agenda. Short block. A single line. Looking forward to connecting. People Operations always phrase suspicion as enthusiasm. I did not respond. I did not decline. I let it sit there, glowing, like a surveillance camera pretending to be decor. Not long after lunch, Trevor approached with his hands folded, posture carefully neutral. His voice was low, but his confidence was loud. "People Ops is doing their seasonal touch points," he said. "A lot of emotions this cycle." "Are emotions billable now?" I asked. Trevor smiled thinly. "Just be smart. Things get messy when folks misunderstand how decisions get made." "Do they?" I replied. His smile flickered. "You know the chain. We all report up." That was the truth, and he said it too easily, like he forgot that truth can be used as a map. Later, I passed Celia near the elevator bank. Celia had a soft voice, warm eyes, and the practiced calm of someone whose job was to keep conflict from reaching the wrong ears. "Jasmine," she said gently, as if my name was a small comfort. "You seemed a little unsettled recently." "I am not unsettled," I said. She held my gaze. "If there is anything you want to talk through, my door is open." I smiled. "Does it open both ways?" Celia's expression paused, like a loading icon. "Of course," she said. "And does it close behind me?" I asked. That was not witty, that was precise. Celia's warmth cooled into professionalism. "We are here to support," she said. "Support is wonderful," I replied. "It is even better when it is not conditional." Celia nodded once and stepped back, already filing me into some internal category labeled potentially inconvenient. I returned to my desk and found Trevor waiting nearby, pretending to read something on his phone while monitoring me with his peripheral vision. He was not subtle. He was strategic. "Everything okay?" he asked again. "Yes," I said. He exhaled like he was relieved, which told me he was not. "Good," he said. "I would hate for this to become something it does not need to be." I looked up from my screen. "Then we want the same thing." Trevor's shoulders eased. He heard submission. He did not hear warning. That afternoon, I finished building my packet and added one more element. I opened the vendor registration data for Brightbridge, a step usually reserved for procurement. It was not locked down as well as Trevor assumed. The registered contact name was T. Pike Holdings, which was bold in the way only careless greed can be bold. The mailing address matched the residential delivery location. No dramatic reveal, no cinematic gasp. Just a neat confirmation that Trevor was not only stealing, he was signing his theft with a flourish. I printed the registration record and clipped it behind the shipment log. A revenge plot, I decided, does not need shouting. It needs alignment. I also did something Trevor would never expect. I prepared for him to lie well. At Harbor and Latch Consulting, lies came in many flavors. Trevor's favorite was plausible concern. He would claim the vendor was approved by procurement. He would claim the packages were handled by third-party fulfillment. He would claim the budget discrepancies were timing issues. He would say the right words and wait for people to get tired. So I built a trap that did not rely on anyone's stamina. The Winter Strategy Forum had a pre-briefing segment where department leads submitted culture wins for leadership to celebrate. Trevor loved those. He loved anything that let him look generous without spending his own money. I submitted my own culture win. Subject line: recognition, integrity, initiative, description, a review of our employee appreciation process to ensure transparency, accuracy, and proper delivery. I included no accusations. I included no names. I attached nothing. I simply ensured my topic landed on the agenda. If leadership was going to applaud culture, they could start by auditing it. The next day, a new message appeared from Celia. Just circling back, I would love to connect. Circling back, corporate language for, I noticed you moved. I replied with one sentence: I will be at the forum. Celia responded almost immediately. Great, see you there. Trevor passed my desk shortly after. He stopped, glanced at the trophy, and smirked. Make sure you keep that visible, he said. It reflects well. It reflects, I agreed. He nodded, satisfied. He did not know what else it would reflect once the lights hit it from the right angle. I slid the envelope with the $50 into my bag again. I placed the misprinted trophy in a box and carried it with me when I left for the day. A symbol, after all, belongs where it tells the truth. And I was done letting Trevor choose the symbolism. The Winter Strategy Forum was held in a glass-walled conference center that smelled like expensive carpet and optimistic lies. Leaders gathered in clusters, smiling with the bright intensity of people who had not processed an invoice in years. I took a seat near the aisle, close enough to move without making a spectacle, far enough to watch without being watched. Trevor stood near the front, already in performance mode. He laughed too loudly at a joke someone else told. He slapped shoulders. He radiated confidence, like a man who believed consequences were for other departments. I waited through the opening remarks, the vision statements, the predictable applause. Then the break arrived, and people rose in a polite scramble for coffee and networking. That was my cue. I walked toward the front where the executive support staff hovered like air traffic control. A woman with a badge that read Avery Lynn, Executive Liaison, looked up as I approached. I need to deliver something to leadership, I said. Avery's eyes flicked to my hands. I was carrying a slim folder and a small box. Is it urgent? She asked. It is accurate, I replied. Urgency will follow. Avery hesitated, then held out her hand for the folder. I did not hand it over yet. This needs to go to the managing partner directly, I said, not through department review. Avery studied my face. Your director is Trevor Pike. Yes, I said. That is the problem, not the credential. Avery's expression tightened. She was tired in the way only gatekeepers get tired, the way people do when they see too many crises and too few honest reasons. What is in the box? She asked. A trophy, I said. Avery blinked. A trophy? Yes, I said. It has my name on it. Incorrectly. It is the most honest recognition item I have received. Avery exhaled once, like she was deciding whether she wanted to be part of my story. Then she nodded. Give me both, she said. Stay here. I handed over the folder and the box. Avery opened the folder and scanned the first page. Her face changed, quickly and quietly. She flipped to the shipment log, then the vendor registration record. She looked up at me. You have documentation. I have the kind of documentation that does not enjoy being ignored, I said. Avery turned and walked briskly toward the inner offices. I did not follow. I did not chase. I waited. Trevor found me near the back of the room, his smile already strained. "What did you just do?" he asked. "I delivered a culture win," I said. His eyes narrowed. "To whom?" "To leadership," I replied. "Since culture matters." His jaw flexed. "You went over my head." "I went around your hands," I said. "There is a difference." Trevor's voice dropped lower, sharper. "You think anyone is going to thank you for stirring things up?" "I do not need thanks," I said. "I need the numbers to stop disappearing." He stepped closer, as if proximity could intimidate math into silence. "You are making a mistake." "No," I said. "I am correcting one." Avery returned, expression neutral, and stopped beside Trevor. "Trevor Pike," she said evenly. "Leadership would like a word. Now." Trevor's confidence cracked, just enough to show the panic underneath. "This can wait," he snapped. "It cannot," Avery replied. Trevor glanced at me, searching for an opening to negotiate. I gave him none. He followed Avery toward the inner hallway, his stride too fast for dignity. The room behind us resumed its low hum, but a thread of attention had snapped into place. People watched him go. People whispered. People suddenly remembered they had unresolved questions. I returned to my seat. A short stretch passed, then longer. The next segment was delayed without explanation. A leader stepped to the microphone and announced that the schedule would be adjusted and that updates would follow. No apology, no reason. That meant something serious had entered the room, something that could not be smoothed over with a joke. My phone buzzed. A message from Marta in finance. "They locked vendor payments. They are pulling approval logs." Another buzz. An automated alert from internal systems about temporary access review. Trevor did not return to the room. When he finally appeared, it was later, and he moved like a man whose shoes were filled with water. His phone was pressed to his ear, his face pale. He stopped when he saw me. He ended the call abruptly. "You did not have to do this," he said. "I did not," I replied. "You did." He swallowed. "They want everything." "That is what records are for," I said. Trevor's eyes flicked toward the doors, toward the executives he could no longer charm. "You think this ends well for you?" "It already did," I said. That confused him more than anger ever would, because he believed revenge was about winning a position. He did not understand mine was about reclaiming reality. "I am walking toward a clarity," I replied. They did not argue. They did not try to charm me. That was the only apology I needed from people with power. Restraint. I returned to my desk, packed my personal things, and wrote a resignation that was clean, factual, and impossible to reinterpret. No emotional flourish, no bitterness, just the truth in proper formatting. Before I left, I walked to the executive wing. The corridor was quiet, the kind of quiet that follows a storm after the air has decided it is done with thunder. I placed the original envelope on a table outside the conference room, unsealed. Inside, I left the $50 bill and a note written in steady ink. "Cheap gratitude is never cheap. Someone always pays for it." I did not sign my name. I did not need to. Records had already done the signing. As I stepped toward the exit, Marta from finance caught my eye near the lobby. She lifted her coffee cup in a small salute. "You will do well," she said. "I already did," I answered. Outside, the air felt sharper, cleaner, like it had finally stopped pretending. Behind me, the building stood tall and polished, designed to feel permanent. But permanence is not a guarantee. It is a belief. And beliefs do not survive contact with well-organized evidence.